All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we're going to look at the entire crypto space. Watch out for something that you need to be careful on and watch out for this weekend. Of course, cryptocurrency markets have been taking just an absolute beating. We're going to look at that today. Look at something particular that could affect this market even more this weekend that you should be aware of before we, just pack up and go home for relaxation. There might be more pain, all right? So we'll talk about that in this video. Look at a lot of other news updates that have happened in this space since yesterday. We do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just make sure you turn on notifications, hit the subscribe button, all that type of stuff. You'll find out about these whenever you go live. We're getting started a little bit late today from our normal routine, but here we are. So yeah, we look at that. Look at a lot of other crazy stuff that's been happening in the tech space lately. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So last but not least, I think I'm saying this video is financial advice designed to tell you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information, and there's lots of scammers down in the comment section below. Just ignore them. I'll never give you my phone number or ask you to invest with me. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got David Ballinger, Automatic, Culture Hives, Wendy, Yusuf, Aaron, Nick, Brian, Independence. So let's go ahead and get into this. Sort of the first topic of the day is what you need to watch out for in crypto this weekend. So, of course, we've seen, let's just see here. Let me pull up my prices on my screen here. We can check on these here in a minute. But, we've seen, let me pull up the trading view chart. It's actually better. Hold on. So we've seen the Bitcoin price in particular, all of the cryptos, be taking an absolute beating over the past, 2-3 months. And, we're kind of in this period where this trend just keeps going down. We're below all of our long-term moving averages. We're starting to make, new lows here. We kind of see this succession of lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. And the overall just momentum for this is really bearish, okay? And there are a lot of people that are worried about what could happen next. Like, could the market kind of just puke its guts and then, drop down another leg here? So you have to ask yourself, like, who's going to be in here buying this stuff and who's potentially in here selling this stuff? So one thing I'm seeing a lot of people talk about is a potential for the Greyscale Bitcoin unlock that's coming up really soon to have a pretty big impact on this. So what does that mean? So Greyscale is a trust that lets institutional investors, not necessarily institutional investors, but basically lets people get exposure to Bitcoin through a trust without having to buy it on an exchange, okay? And how it works is basically you have to lock up your Bitcoin and for a certain period of time until that expires, and then whenever it expires, you can basically it unlocks, okay? And it goes back on the market. So we have a pretty big unlock period coming up over the next several days, and one particularly this weekend where, let's just see here, July 18th. July 18th, which is supposed to be this Sunday, let me just see here, is a particular day of interest because it's locking over 16,000 Bitcoin. Okay, so why is this important? Well, you have to ask yourself, if basically 16,000 Bitcoin gets unlocked when a price chart looks like this, what do you think is going to happen to that 16,000 Bitcoin? Do you think it's going to get held? Do you think it's going to get sold? Who's going to buy it at what price? All that type of stuff. So my money is on this being, a bearish thing for Bitcoin right now, especially with the price, with the current momentum that we're having. Just to tell you the 100% truth, nobody's got a crystal ball, nobody knows for sure, but this doesn't look like a good thing. That's doesn't look bullish for Bitcoin when it's kind of in this position of weakness right here when we're trying to figure out, are we going to hold this as a consistent bottom, or are we going to break down in the 20s and start seeing new price levels here? So let me know what y'all think down in the chat below. I hear lots of debates on this on either side of it, whether the Greyscale Bitcoin Trust unlock is really a big deal for Bitcoin at all, whether it matters. Some people say it's bullish, some people say it's bearish. I'm leaning bearish, especially because of just the momentum that we're seeing right here on the screen. So let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Yeah. Somebody thinks it's designed for whale play. Yeah, maybe. So anyways, yeah, that's the thing definitely to watch out for this weekend. Let's just see here. So actual BTC is not being released into the market. It's the shares that are getting released and will be at a loss if they sell now. Yeah, totally. Yeah, somebody says worth considering being bear. Somebody still says bullish. Yeah, it's a good point, Aaron, saying the actual Bitcoin is not being released into the market. It's the shares that are being released and it will be lost if they sell now. Yeah, totally. That's a good point. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's something you want to keep on your radar, because you don't want to go into this weekend thinking, oh, there's like, it's just business as usual, when there's a pretty big event happening that could affect the price either way. So let's look at, we can kind of take a look at the other ETH chart here while we're looking at prices. So ETH's kind of in the same story, right? We're kind of, ETH price seems to be more lows. Bitcoin's definitely leading the market with this downward momentum. The real thing for ETH to watch out for is, are we going to come back down to this low of about 1750, maybe 1800 as the bottom of the candle body, or are we going to hold this and reverse course and see a higher low here? That's the kind of the next thing to watch out for ETH. So one encouraging metric that I am seeing on the board right now, though, and some people are kind of worried about what's going on with the Bitcoin price based upon sort of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD around China, right? So China did the big crackdown on Bitcoin mining. Where basically, we had a lot of people have to basically turn their mining rigs off in China. Some of these, basically this is causing people to relocate. I always thought this was going to happen, basically, where if you just ban mining in China, what's going to happen? They're just going to leave and go somewhere else and set up their mining rigs. So some people are just worried about that for the integrity of the network, right? And what's going to happen, and they think that that's got a pretty big impact on what's been going with the price of Bitcoin, especially with institutional investors kind of just being scared. We don't know what's going to happen with the Bitcoin network if a large portion of the mining power just gets turned off. It's kind of a big question mark. So we are starting to see the hash rate actually recover on Bitcoin. Okay, so this is actually an encouraging metric. Okay, so this doesn't necessarily mean that the Bitcoin price just goes up and is correlated with this. But it does mean that we are starting to see improvements in, we are starting to see basically miners come back online, and this is evidence of this, okay? So for anybody who's worried about like the integrity of the Bitcoin network because a certain percentage of the mining power just being wiped off, basically, we're starting to see it recover, okay? And I think we'll probably trend back to our highs, because it's one of those things where the Bitcoin mining just gets more and more competitive, and at the price levels we're still at today, there's an incentive to mine and continue to do that, especially if you have this long-term belief in what the Bitcoin price can be on the road, because that's why some people mine in the first place. I mean, some people are mining at a loss, you know what I mean? And then basically they're betting on the future price of Bitcoin. So if they think Bitcoin's going to 100K, well, then why wouldn't you still, spend the money on mining and mine it? You know what I mean? So we do see mining power come back online. That is another encouraging metric for Bitcoin, which can have some impact on the price. Again, the hash rate's not correlated to the price, but basically if people are worried about the Bitcoin network because they think hashing is hash rate's dropping, well, the hash rate's coming back. So another bullish thing that we are seeing is PayPal's actually increasing limits for people to buy cryptocurrency. So they increased like $100,000 a day. So that's probably got a pretty big indication of demand for retail investors who are buying it on the platform. Some people are probably hitting their limits, and we're starting to see that thing kind of jack up. We saw the same thing happen with Coinbase. I remember when Coinbase kind of first launched, the limits were low, and now they've also been raised. And I think probably also they'll raise it depending on how much you deposit and all that type of stuff. But now PayPal's raised that as well. So let's look at something I saw yesterday come out. That's a pretty interesting experiment. Okay, let me just find it here. So DeFi, of course, has been one of the hottest kind of innovations in blockchain, especially in the Ethereum space. It really kicked off. I mean, DeFi's been around for a while, but we saw DeFi really explode last year in 2020, with yield farming, with all these different decentralized finance apps on top of Ethereum. The potential for what you can do with DeFi is just getting greater by the day, especially with layer 2 scaling solutions that are rolling out on Ethereum. All the solutions that are basically cost prohibitive to do, with layer 1s are now being made possible with layer 2s. And we've seen DeFi sort of roll out on some different chains. People experiment with it with kind of the innovations happen on top of the Ethereum network and different blockchains. We've seen it happen on Binance Smart Chain. We've seen it happen on Polygon, et cetera. And yesterday, we saw this announcement from Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, and also CEO of Square, that Square is actually launching a new venture, okay? So Square is creating a new business, joining Seller, Cash App, and Tidal, focused on building an open developer platform with the sole goal of making it easy to create non-custodial, permissionless, and decentralized financial services. Our primary focus is Bitcoin. All right, the name is to be decided. So this is going to be a financial infrastructure for basically DeFi on Bitcoin. It's kind of what I'm reading this in as, okay? So we don't have a total clear picture of what this is. But Jack's been a Bitcoin bull for a long time. He's famously not wanted to really get involved with Ethereum. They don't list Ether on Cash App or anything like that to buy. He's philosophically very pro Bitcoin. And so that looks like the direction that we're headed here. Somebody says, how is it different from Square Crypto? Square doesn't give direction to Square Crypto, only funding. Okay, so he's about to talk about how the organization works. So they made a Twitter account, to be decided. So this is the future home of the Twitter page for the Square Bitcoin app. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what that is, but that's something to definitely watch out for. Some people are kind of laughing at this and saying, like, why would you do DeFi on Bitcoin? Or they're just like reinventing X project. But I'm excited about it. I mean, I get excited the more innovation happens in this space and the more people are trying to, provide solutions to these problems, even if it's like a, violation of certain people's culture. As long as people know what they're getting into and it's like relatively safe and it's advertised as, basically the advertising actually matches what they're getting into, then I'm okay with it. So we got any questions here in the chat? Somebody said, somebody says, I'm proud to say I have broke a personal record and only looked at ETH price yesterday only once. That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it takes self-control for sure. So one thing that we did have happen, I believe it was yesterday. We did have, let me just pull this up here. We did have another DeFi exploit yesterday. Okay, so this was rough, but it looks like they are actually, I believe I've read that they are planning on, compensating the users who are, involved in this exploit. So, as always, I try to be pretty explicit on this channel that like DeFi is risky, right? That you're, whenever you're using this stuff, you're dealing with new technology that has different types of game theory involved. And, you always want to be careful about how much money you put into DeFi. And so for some people, like DeFi is not worth the risk. It's just better to like hold into cold storage or some other way. But I do think that DeFi is, has a ton of long-term potential. I'm super excited for all the innovations that are happening in the space. But I do think it's going to be a while before it's, safe for the average user to participate in. But with that being said, let's go over what happened yesterday. I believe it's yesterday. So THORChain, all right, so I've actually talked about this project on my channel. It's a project I'm pretty excited about. But looks like they did suffer an exploit. So they lose up to $7.6 million in Chaosnet exploit. So offers a hacker bounty to return the funds. So I haven't really seen all the details of exactly what happened with this particular exploit. Let's just see if I can pull it up on my screen here. I do know that it was one of those things that definitely affected the price of the Rune token. So if you're a Rune holder, definitely want to know about this. Let's see here. So I don't see the detailed announcement. So they're talking about here being a detailed announcement exactly what happened. So again, I don't see the exact breakdown of what happened in the THORChain hack, so I can't really tell you all the details. But it looks like it was about 4,000 Ether, okay, versus ETH for ERC20 was taken. But it does look like they are planning on compensating the liquidity providers who were suffering this exploits. Basically, 4,000 ETH. They do plan on compensating the LPs. So what is THORChain? So it's a pretty cool project. Basically, it's kind of like a Uniswap for cross-blockchain activity. So how Uniswap works is basically you have a decentralized exchange that runs on the blockchain where you can just like tell it what token you want to swap, right? You go from this token to that token. And on the back end, you have liquidity providers that basically it's decentralized in the sense that it takes money from the community to run the application, because whenever you swap, basically you have to go from one cryptocurrency to another. You just say, it's like a vending machine. Say, I have this cryptocurrency, I want to buy this cryptocurrency. Well, in the cryptocurrency you're buying, it has to exist somewhere for you to receive it. So that's what the liquidity pool is for. On the back end of the application, the community can come and provide tokens to that application, and they are incentivized to do this because they can earn a passive income reward, part of the trading fees. So that's how Uniswap works, but THORChain's like that as well, and then it has these liquidity pools, but it's actually for cross-chain swaps. So if you want to swap, like ETH for Bitcoin, for example, if you want to go between two blockchains, you can do that. So you have these THORChain nodes that run on either side that help power these liquidity pools. So that's how that works. But what they're saying is basically the liquidity providers inside the liquidity pools on the back end of THORChain, that's what was exploited, and that's where we had about 4,000 ETH was absconded with, looks like. But they do plan on making that whole. So I think this is not like a death knell for THORChain. It's a project I'm excited about for the long term. But you always have to be careful with this stuff for sure. Somebody says, are we creating bullish flag about to break the trend line right now? Is that a question or is that a statement? It'd be great if we were. I'm not getting too excited until we start seeing some bullish momentum and some higher lows for sure. When Dapp University DeFi wallet? That's a good question. All right, so there's actually a pretty good tweet thread. I'm gonna post it in the chat below so y'all can read this. You just go to the chat and post a tweet thread. So I was going to show you. So do talk about layer twos. I'm not gonna read this whole tweet thread because it's pretty long, but we talked about how some really exciting stuff has come out this past week with layer 2 scaling solutions for Ethereum. Basically, this is where you're building a second layer on top of Ethereum that makes it faster and scalable to use. Basically, we've seen optimistic rollups as one solution for doing this. Uniswap has rolled out on top of Optimism. This is sort of the first big leap towards layer 2 scaling solutions that makes Ethereum faster and cheaper to use, like right now, before Ethereum 2.0 gets here. And so, this is a big deal. I talked yesterday in the video about how we're going to see a scaling war pretty much heat up, where a lot of solutions are going to come online and compete with one another to try to become a dominant scaling paradigm. Okay, like this is going to probably create some winners and losers over the next several months. And so I wanted to show you this thread that I saw yesterday that can help you understand sort of layer 2s and why they're important and why it's pretty cool for ETH. So I'll put this on my screen. Like I said, I put the tweet down in the chat below. So basically, it's talking about the scaling wars have begun. After high fees and congestion of 2021, everyone and their cow is out there making a better EVM, so the Ethereum virtual machine blockchain. So basically, about how far the 7-year-old EVM architectures can still take us. So he goes through a lot of stuff here. He talks about like all the different Ethereum virtual machine sort of competitors out there, like Near, Solana, EOS. Talking about some of these having maybe superior approaches to how they solve some of the issues with the Ethereum virtual machine, because computer science has come a long way since the EVM was created 7 years ago. But the real sort of reason we can't just like swap it out and use something different is because of a sunken cost. You basically have an entire developer ecosystem to build decentralized applications on top of Ethereum right now. This has got to do with Ethereum's network effect, basically. You have all these mature developer tools. You have all these mature ecosystems. You have billions and billions and billions of dollars of assets under management with DeFi. Basically, you just have an ecosystem there, and that ecosystem takes billions of dollars and years to create somewhere else, right? Because even if you have money, it takes time to get mature software, all that type of stuff. So that's what he's saying here, and so that's one of the reasons that we've stuck with the Ethereum virtual machine, with Ethereum as it is today, and moved towards layer 2 scaling. The blockchain as it is, and actually changing how EVM works underneath the hood for ETH 2.0, especially with sharding, which will be one of the last pieces of ETH 2.0. But if you want a longer sort of technical read on this and sort of talk about the different layer 2 scaling solutions and how they work, then definitely check out this tweet thread that I linked down in the description below. Well, not in the description, in the chat. I'll just relink it right here so that you can see it in the Twitter chat. Someone says ETH will probably flip Bitcoin. I still think it's possible. I think with the current momentum of the market, we have a lot of headwind for pretty much all cryptocurrency. And honestly, I think a lot of what's happening right now in the crypto market is just fear, just like panic selling, because basically it's got this downward momentum. And even if sort of what's been happening in the market is kind of detached from the technical fundamentals and everything, all the other activity and the future prospect of this currency, you still have a market of humans who are scared, you know what I mean? And even if you rationally know something, or rationally believe something, your emotions can still cause you to act in a different way, or you don't want to go through the pain. Because there's a lot of people who are traders or who have been in this space for a long time, who saw what happened in 2017, 2018, 2019, are like, I don't want to go through that again, so I'm just getting out of this. Or you have, maybe institutions or new participants who bought in at 50K and now Bitcoin's at 30K, and they're like, all right, I'm just cutting my losses. I'm getting out of here. I don't want to bag hold down to a $15,000 Bitcoin or something like that. I mean, I don't have any official price projections on where it's going to go, right? But I think you have a lot of people who are seeing that type of thing and like, hey, I don't want to deal with that. So even if this thing's going to 100K at some point, I don't want to be on that part of the ride, right? So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing right now. Somebody says no probability to it. ETH will flip Bitcoin. So somebody says, how are dApps updated? Can anyone update it, only the initial deployer? That's a good question. So basically, smart contracts are not really designed to be updated in and of themselves. So whenever you create a smart contract and you put it on the network, then basically nobody can really update that initial code, okay? However, there are different ways that you can create upgradable smart contracts, okay? So this would have to be a technical topic, but there's probably a lot of developers watching this live stream. not too many fair weather people in crypto left who are not really interested in the tech, especially if they're watching this channel. But anyways, so like if you're creating software, like if you think about other software, if you think about like object-oriented programming or functional programming or different ways you build software where you build different pieces, right? And then those pieces like talk to another piece. Like you build a class, it calls another class, or maybe you build a function and you pass in another function that gets called or something. So you can do the same thing with smart contracts where you create one contract that like calls a different contract. Maybe it references a different contract. And that's one of the best ways to actually create upgradable smart contracts is you sort of create a contract that's always going to get called by the end user, sort of like an interface. And then that interface can have all the functions that the user will always be able to call. And then that, references an actual implementation. And the implementation is sort of all the business logic underneath the hood of that smart contract, of that actual decentralized application, and the implementation is what are the internals, and that's kind of what can get upgraded over time. Now, that being said, who can upgrade it? Well, it just depends on how you code the smart contract, because again, the actual contract itself can't be upgraded, but you can basically push a new implementation to the blockchain and then say, you know, point to this new implementation inside the interface contract, and you'll just have to code the permissions on who can do that. So typically the easiest way to do it is just have a whitelisted set of addresses that can, you know, update the implementation and then point to the new implementation. The easiest way would probably be the initial deployer. And then I saw another question about coding. Let's see here. Yeah, so there's a lot of question about the Kovan faucet. So let me, yeah, we're actually working on a new Kovan solution right now. So stay tuned, and we'll put out an announcement about that. Yeah, some of these things get deprecated after a while, but we just became aware of this recently, and we're getting a fix on it. So somebody else had a question about. Some of them aren't smart contracts immutable. They are by nature, but you can create them where they point to other smart contracts that can be changed. So what's the best way to learn advanced Solidity? So yeah, I mean, I can definitely show you how to code advanced Solidity step by step, start to finish. If you were talking about just learning more and more and more techniques, like it's going to be through experience, and the best way beyond, like once you've mastered, you know, fundamentals of Solidity, the best thing to do is probably just go read open source code in other repositories, like Uniswap, for example. Like learn how Uniswap works. Maybe you try to rebuild a certain part of Uniswap, run the tests, see if you can get them to pass. That's one of the best ways to get the experience outside of the workplace. You know, if you wanted to get paid to learn advanced Solidity, then you just get inside the workplace and you figure out what the requirements are of your employer, and you learn those things as you go. So it says, can you write a smart contract and publish it to the network, but only have contents readable by the contract owner? The problem with that is the transaction information is public on the blockchain. So basically, anytime you're writing new, if you're writing more data to the contract, like that's going to be contained in the transaction, and everybody's going to be able to see it. This is, I'm learning how to write unit tests, writing the Dapp versus GitHub right now. Awesome. Yeah, totally. Unit tests are going to be essential for making sure your smart contracts work properly. So I'm curious how memory works in smart contracts. I had a mapping of addresses, their balances. Could take a lot of memory. Where is that stored? The memory is basically running on the nodes that are processing it. Someone says only 0.2% of Bitcoin are being unlocked. People need to stop making this seem like Armageddon. I don't think it's necessarily Armageddon, but with the low amount of volume that we have right now with Bitcoin at this sort of precarious price level, with this downward momentum, it could be bad. Basically, like if that happens and then it sort of people start seeing that downward price, like people panic sell, and you could see a flurry of panic selling, basically. So I'll be very excited if it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, gotta be careful and watch out for it. Thoughts on the diamond implementation? Yeah, so definitely that's one way to do your smart contracts. Actually, I had Nick on the channel. Actually, I think it was on the Blockchain Mastery program where he talked about that. The creator of the Diamond Standard. Yeah, totally. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. You know, if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you went to the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.